The reason why we went away to Berlin was because the front line came closer. We could hear already the thunder from far away, the cannons and everything. So one day there was a big truck, and the parents in Freimut got on it with necessary belongings and everything. Off they went to Berlin. Father said, "You come with the bicycles. You follow." So each had a rabbit in a box and other things. By the time we had loaded the bikes, it was afternoon, and we started going.
And it was 60 kilometers?
Yeah. And we were out of the village, and Renate, kaplank, we had too much loaded. I said, we go back, stay another night, and start early in the morning.
How old were you?
11 and 13. We started at 9:30, and we got to Berlin. It was almost evening. It was heavy what we had on the bikes, and it was a hilly country. And then all these German trucks and soldiers and sometimes airplanes flying ahead. We didn't know if they were Russian or German. Well, we made it. And you won't believe it, grandfather was very unhappy. "Where is the radio? You didn't bring the radio." Yeah, I was so happy to be home finally. Next morning at 4 o'clock I had to get up with my mother, walk an hour to the station. We took the train out there again to get that radio, because that was a lifeline. You learned a lot in this bad time.
Well, I didn't see much of the end part of the war because I was evacuated down in Devonshire. They evacuated a lot of kids away from
London area.
Did your parents stay in London while you were evacuated?
Well, the parents had to stay behind because either they were working or had to maintain the house.
So you didn't see your parents for months on end. Mothers. My father was in the Navy anyway.
I can remember as a little girl on D-Day, or leading up to D-Day, I could hear all these tanks drive through. You get up in the morning, you could see all the marks. I remember that, and all the soldiers marching.
I remember on D-Day, I was out there doing my usual paper route, and there were two kinds of air assaults. There were the paratroopers, and there were gliders being towed by planes, and the gliders were full of troops. The sky was just black because there were waves of different altitudes, and all you could see was aeroplanes and gliders. And you looked past the ones that were lowest and you could see others above them. You didn't need anybody to tell you there was an invasion going on.
Yeah.
You could see it.
On May 6th, all of a sudden all the noise outside stopped. And then you heard this humming sound. It was a Russian tank coming. And I still remember. This is so awful to remember. You know, you have these street blocks, and there you see a cannon sneaking. And whenever after I saw a tank, I almost wanted to throw up. The fighting was over, more or less. The big fighting. You know, since the Russians were coming to our area. In other areas in Berlin, the Germans and the Russians still fought. So you weren't really safe on the street. You know, there could be German planes still shooting because they saw Russian tanks somewhere. And that's how a neighbor of our place there, he lost his life in the last minutes, you know, which wasn't necessary. We didn't go to hail them, but many German people hailed the Russian conquerors. Until the second part of the Russians came and they started plundering, stealing what they could, and then raping women. I remember there was a young girl who was already raped 16 times, came to our house, and we were lucky because we had a couple who were able to speak Russian, and they tried to keep them away from us. And also the door into the house had wood put against, and then an iron bar let into the wall on each side, so nobody could really push the door open. And then my mother and I, we knew our hiding places where we had to go. And sometimes we escaped on the roof. It was scary, because I by then was 14. The commandant, the Russian one, ordered all the people to bring their radios to a certain gathering place. So my father got all the radios from the house, put them in the wagon, and I went with him. We stood outside on Müllerstraße, and he went in, and he saw that they were all very unordentlich.
Unorganized?
Yeah,
Yeah.
put around and maybe on top of each other and everything. And grandfather said, no, let's go home again. I'm not giving them any of ours. And we went home, and 2 days later, this edict from the commandant was lifted. When I was 15, 1946, you know, we went all to the Black Forest.
Oh, was that when you got sent to live on a farm?
Yeah, not every child could go. You had to be undernourished. We had to go to the French occupied territory in Germany, which was southwest Germany, the Black Forest. I wanted to be on a farm and put my hands to the work, and because I love farm work.
You were undernourished, but you were willing to work.
Yeah, skin and bones. They sent me to Britzingen. I came to a small farmer, and he didn't have machines. Everything was done by hand, more or less, and I was in heaven. He had a scythe to cut the grain. He taught me to milk a cow. And one time I was able to bring the cow up on the hillside to pasture. I felt so proud.
What did you have to eat?
Mainly potatoes and vegetables, but not big potatoes. I don't know what they did with the big ones, but I remember eating potatoes. They were just this small.
The size of your thumb?
Yeah,
Yeah.
peeling them and eating them because they were potatoes. On weekends we had meat, but not during the week. And do you know how many pounds I gained being in the Black Forest? I was 96. And when I came back, 136. 40 pounds. But in 1 year it was gone again. You know, the university was in East Berlin. And they told my dad, you have to become a member of the Communist Party or you can go. So he went, put his resignation in, and then in 52, before the Russians closed the borders from Berlin again, they were able to get out with furniture and all the things they needed, and firewood. Renate and I stayed, and I was in my last semester, and I wanted to finish in Berlin.
So you lived on the west side, but
I had to
school
go-
was on the east?
Yeah, and then in November they sent me a letter. We can't have you here anymore studying unless you move into the Soviet sector of Berlin. Well, then I disappeared too. I left Berlin, went to Hanover. In 52, Pentecost, Renate and I had planned a bike trip to do Altlietzen. We make a nice trip and see old friends. And then we hear in the morning, nobody can get out of West Berlin anymore into the Russian zone. We could have smashed everything because we were so angry. We wanted to go so badly. So it took till 91 till I saw Altlietzen again, after the wall had fallen. To end this talk, I must say the bad experiences during my childhood taught me a great lesson. I learned to be grateful. I learned to be content with whatever I have, and learned the great value of human dignity and what it all entails. I also hate violence of every kind, verbal and physical. And I hope I don't have to tell the war story anymore.